What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and today we're going to talk about Black Myth Wukong because, to be honest, I was completely wrong about this game. A couple days ago, I did a rather viral video telling people not to buy it on the PlayStation 5, and the reason I said that is because at that point, I'd seen some bad reviews, I saw some controversies about some weird stuff involving the game developers, but most importantly, they had not released much PlayStation 5 footage for it. So I decided to buy it on PlayStation, and to be honest, I'm already completely addicted to it. In fact, as I record this, I may look a bit exhausted. It's 7 a.m. I've been playing this game now for 10 hours straight, and I completely love it. In fact, this might be one of my favorite games of the year, but let's break down the goods and the bads and what Wukong is. Let's get into it. Hi, hope you're having a great day, and if you could please, give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Let's see if we can get this to 2,000 likes. So let's start with the fact that this game is definitely way more massive than I think that anybody could have predicted. Currently on Steam, it's actually the third biggest game of all time, which is bonkers to consider. But what makes this game so addictive the second you pick up the controller is it may appear to be a Souls-like, something from software with huge encounters and heavy hits, when it's actually not. Black Myth Wukong is a boss rush adventure. There's like over 40 bosses you can find and kill in this across 6 separate chapters. But what makes it interesting is that there is literally no filler in this game. It's pretty much just major encounter after major encounter. Like sometimes there's a couple little bits of tiny dudes in between, some little minions or side activities like picking flowers or crafting extra pieces of gear, but 99% of this game is just boss fights. And the reason I feel like that works so well is because of the myth of Black Myth. So this is based on the ancient Chinese legend of Journey to the West. It's like this monkey king guy, Sun Wukong. It's like a bunch of stuff like Dragon Ball Z is based on it. It's like a guy with a huge stick and the ability to fly on clouds is fighting against a bunch of crazy gods. Very God of War set in China. But what makes this game so incredibly fun is the slow unlocking of powers. We're not playing as Sun Wukong. I mean, we're playing as somebody that kind of looks like him, but we don't have any abilities. So as we begin to fight, as we begin to unlock stuff, you get these really fun skills. Turning yourself into mist so you can teleport around the battlefield, making it so you can make a flash clone to distract your opponents, or stuff like petrification. You can freeze an enemy for a couple seconds and do a full combo. But what's really fun about this game, and what's so addictive about it more than anything else in my opinion, is the lack of block. So this is tougher than your typical action RPG, but it's way easier than Dark Souls or Sekiro or Elden Ring or anything like that. This is the kind of game that is where brute force and some practice, just a little bit of boss timing, you'll easily pass anything. In fact, people have been watching my reviews for a very long time. I've beaten every Dark Souls, everything. I love those kind of games. I beat a lot of these bosses on usually 2 or 3 tries. I'd finish much stuff. I did finish some bosses on the first attempt, and I feel like that is a credit to how well this game manages to teach you. So while you're fighting, there is this cool mechanic to it. So by pressing square, you do a fast attack, which doesn't really do that much. It kind of just bashes them about. But whenever this meter on the left side of the screen begins to charge up, or the right side of the screen charges up, you unlock a heavy attack. Now, you can do this whenever you want, but if you do it when it's charged up, this is your main heavy bash ability. This is the kind of skill that actually just does a lot of damage. So while fighting people with just basic abilities, it's about charging up a bunch of quick strikes and then unleashing a big strike to sort of detonate it and do some very heavy damage. Where this game begins to vary differently is as you kill people, you get these experience points, which can be used to buy stuff in the store, get extra potions, but most importantly, it becomes sparks. Now, that's just like their fancy way of saying talent points. The talent trees, there are a ton of different talent trees that make it so you can specialize in different stance styles with your staff, different combat trees that let you specialize in just having more stamina, more defense, more offense, more health, or a lot of times the stuff I put all my points into was mysticism, which is essentially the ability to max out your magics. And when you do that, I put a bunch of talents into that petrification spell. It was cool to actually freeze people, do an entire combo, and detonate them at the end of it. And I think this game, what gets me the most is that the slow unveiling of powers is glorious. One of the abilities that our character has is transformation. As you begin to kill enemies, both mini-bosses, optional bosses, and main bosses, you get these different forms. So you can turn into a frog or a monk with spikes in his head like that. But you can also get these total transformations. Each of the main bosses, when you kill them, unlocks their form. And when you become this, what's crazy about it is that these transformations have their own health pool. So if you turn into this guy with like a spinning fire staff, you can beat people up. And then if you run out of mana with that guy, you do eventually get turned back into yourself. But I think it's cool that in a boss fight, a lot of times I would open up, I would stun them, I'd do the longest combo I possibly could. And the second I started to take damage, I'd transform into my other boss forms and battle them boss to boss, which means I can soak damage and deal damage completely free. It's this interesting meta because I do think that not only is this fun, I think it's cool that there's this mechanic that feels extra exciting, where it feels and looks just so cool to be shifting between forms of trying to chug your very limited potions. There's like this thing called the gourd system where you get like 4 or 5 heals and it slowly upgrades as you encounter and find different crafting materials and stuff like that. But I like the fact that while I was figuring this out, while I was actually trying to test and learn my different abilities and even different forms, there is this extremely gratifying edge to it that's difficult to even convey. I think that Black Myth Wukong, more than anything else, I think I like the fact that it is so different. I think I like the fact that defeating a multi-phase snake boss, or going up into the mountains to conquer a bunch of people whose names I can't pronounce and trying to stop some weirdo fire bear and stuff like that. Every encounter feels like the last boss. Everything feels like this epic world-ending event, and that's so freaking awesome. Every time I won, even in an easy fight, I would fist pump. And to be honest, I didn't notice this at first. I was kind of just playing the game, I'm vibing, I'm like, all right, this is a good time. But after a while, I caught myself mid-fist pump and say, what about this is just so fun? What about this is just so exciting? And I started to think, it's the fact that there's absolutely no filler to it. It is 100% awesome. Now, I haven't finished it yet. Maybe it becomes incredibly terrible at the end of the game. But first impressions after playing 10 hours of it, maybe, I don't know, I'm probably about 20% of the game. No, maybe I'm about halfway through the game. I don't even know. I'm a couple chapters deep, but I really like Black Myth Wukong. It runs surprisingly well. And I've got to say that this is one of those games that I've like, Dark Souls fans will love, Devil May Cry fans will love, Bayonetta fans will love, but even if you've never played this kind of genre, I think this is a fantastic introduction to action RPGs. Check it out, definitely on PC or on PS5. It's not on Xbox. I think it's coming to Xbox someday, but just immediately, heck yes. This is the first game, the first AAA project by Game Science, and in that way, it does remind me of Stellar Blade, another game that came out this year, which was a First Time Studios' first AAA game, and also completely blew my mind. This is the kind of stuff that I think the industry needs. It's definitely smaller budget, it's definitely not the biggest thing of all time, but it's fun, it's unique, and I think it deserves our attention, even if I don't really understand the source material. The story itself makes pretty much no sense. I'm sure it's very authentically based on the original works, but even without that context, man, do I love it. But tell me your thoughts in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming. I definitely heard my roommate waking up. He's probably pissed. Oh my God. Roommate, if you see this, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to make videos, man. Oh God, I'm recording videos at 7 a.m. I'm trying to whisper. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.